the artist we are decoding today is one of the most relevant artists of our time. Well, he's not with us anymore, but his works continue to evoke the strongest response from people. His paintings break an auction record almost each time they go under the hammer. You would either hate his art or be addicted to his unapologetic style. The inimitable Francis Newton Souza, spanning a career of almost 6 decades. There's already been so much that has been written and spoken about his art. So we at Hunar TV are first going to try to understand the kind of person that Souza was. The Dhoomimal Art Gallery had known the artist for almost 3 decades, and they're going to help us in decoding Souza. How much was Souza the artist close to Souza the person? Because a lot of people who are newly introduced to his works are kind of taken aback by the violence of the strokes, the strength of the strokes, or the violence in the subject, so to say, in a certain manner. So
you can't really separate the two. Okay. I mean, he was such a perfect, perfect artist and a tremendous person, that his personality, both as an artist and as a human being or as a friend, you could really intermingle everything together and would not really say this which was stronger. If you could tell us some interesting conversations that you've had with him, something that would reflect on the kind of person he was. Was he very reserved? Was he too obsessive about something? No, not at all. I mean, on the contrary, he was what he wanted to. He had a humor about himself. He was he was a person who enjoyed every bit of his life.
Uday, you're someone who's had the privilege of knowing Souza in your growing up years and knowing him as your father's friend, knowing him as this uncle who was around when you were a child. One aspect of his personality which was endearing to you then when you were a child and even now when you look back.
So I think while growing up, I also felt it, but now I can relate to it even more. That I think he was always a very warm, emotional, upfront person, and that always shows in his works as well. And even whenever I would meet him, of course it was more as an uncle and a child rather than I would love to have grown up and have some conversations with him. But he passed away in 2001, 2002, and I took over the gallery only in 2003. Officially. So of course it was more of a child-uncle relation where he would warmly always come and hug me or like bring some toy cars or other such stuff for me. So he was always very warm and upfront, and I really think he was very emotional. In fact, I was reading one of Krishan Khanna's early reviews of his works, and he says that one of the biggest challenges he faced was to be objective about his art and not bring on his personal things onto his work. But I think he did that throughout his career, and if anything, that is what makes him stand apart from all other artists of his generation. So I in fact feel that emotional and upfront aspect of his personality was his greatest asset as well. Right.
So you're saying that's what reflected in his art as well, because when you see his art, there's nothing that he's holding back.
Absolutely.
It's in your face. But was he that kind of a personality as well?
I think he was, and just because he was emotional, so I think that also kind of helped it. Like he would have a breakdown stuff and he would bring it all out on his works, and I feel that is why, because especially in an Indian society or a civilized society, many times people are expected to suppress emotions like anger or like even passion, sex or jealousy, all such emotions, whereas Souza would discuss them, and not even in any soft words. He would make a statement, he would discuss it and bring out his own personality in his works, and which is why I think it's become timeless and not region bound or religion bound, and which is why I think his art is relevant across time and generation.
His signature style is unique in Indian art. Strong, angular brushstrokes, as if he's attacked the canvas with his paintbrush. Those who like his art, those who understand his art, pride themselves for having not just the right eye, but also having the maturity to handle his art. Did you come across people who felt very strongly against his works, who weren't comfortable with having his works in their living room?
Well, to an extent, yes. I mean, it's but very few, because most of the works, even the nudes, were done in a manner that sort of they were part of the painting and depicting art as such. So there was nothing like. Of course, there were some paintings which there were people who said no, they couldn't put it in the Indian homes. But all the same, we've never had anybody who strongly sort of objected to that sort of a nudity, or I mean, it was really sort of, people did appreciate whatever he painted.
All right. No. The reason why I'm asking is that because I meet so many people, despite the fact that Souza breaks an auction record each time his works enter an auction. Despite the popularity, despite the kind of auction records that his works have set, there's still many that I, from my personal experience, have really met feel too strongly against having a Souza inside the living room, saying that, oh, their children growing up,
yes,
or it's too wild.
There you're right. That's why I remember I had to request him once that would you really please do some landscapes for us, because our Indian buyers. I persuaded him to do some landscapes for us. That's why you find a lot of large landscapes here. Because when he came in the 80s and 90s, and I did sort of find from some of our customers to say, oh, children are small and you can't put all these strong nudes in the house.
But what was his reaction to that, given that he believed so much in what he was painting?
No, but he was quite open to this, and when I requested him, no, he was a person of his moods. Like if he had to do landscapes, he would get into a mood to do landscapes, then he'll do all landscapes.
Okay.
And the beauty of it was that the way he could just hold a tube and he could just do the whole landscape with purely simply with the tube itself.
Okay.
I mean, that was absolutely great.
Problem in India, at least, has always been that we look too much behind the meaning of an artwork rather than an artwork in its own capacity.
The emotional aspect.
Exactly. So, which is where I think we lot of times tend to judge artworks by if it's telling a good mythological tale or something, we tend to go and have a fondness for it. Whereas if it's abstract or if it's showing anger, so I feel an artwork should always be looked at as an artwork and not essentially with the story behind the artwork. The emotion, yes, but not the real story as such, which is being told. So I feel that is where a lot of people, at least in the 90s, at least the Indian community was apprehensive in buying Souzas.
You find a very endearing aspect to his artworks, whereas some would feel that it evokes strong reactions. It evokes an aspect of anxiety as well.
I really wouldn't say that, because I think each of his paintings, even if the subject like Gargi and the Rishis that he did, I mean, he sort of created something which you would always find so deep into it. Even this Last Supper, that he did. I mean, so there's so much of characters, there's so much of substance in that painting. In one of our bedrooms, we have a very simple painting with a lady and 2 children. Now, it's one of the very simple subjects, but if you look at that painting, there's so much that you can see in it. That even my little grandson, I remember Karmanya saying, this is Dadi, this is me, and that's the younger
He could relate to it as well.
So
amazing.
Even a little boy who was just 4 or 5 years old could describe that painting.